Alright, we're back, boys and girls, with another episode of the Not So Fucking Ordinary Show. And if you're new to this show, I'm taking time to interview people who are extraordinary, whether they're in athletics, they're in fitness, they're in the corporate world, they're in entrepreneurship, or they're in the arts, like my man, Wale. Hey, how you doing, my man?
What's bad, bro? How are you, man?
See you, dude.
Yeah, man, it's been a while.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
This is going to be the first podcast in 2020. What an honor.
Hey, let's do it, man. Let's do it. I'm excited.
All right. Well, before we jump into your story, I want to announce show sponsor Fit to Give. Fit to Give is the #1 shaker bottle in the world, providing high quality stainless steel shaker bottles. But why it's special to me is that we're pushing a portion of the proceeds to 3 different charities.
Oh, neat.
One that's focused on higher quality water, another one that's focused on higher quality food, and then last but not least, helping kids in Kenya with their education.
Amazing.
So fun stuff. If you guys want to check out this as well as the other bottles we have, go to fittogive.org and support the cause. With no further ado, Wally, let's get into this.
Such an amazing thing that you're doing, man.
Oh,
That's
appreciate
so dope.
it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Didn't even know that. That's like a good surprise. Now I feel really, really good and really better.
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah.
amazing.
No, I appreciate
yeah,
it.
man. Thank you for doing that. That's
Yeah,
really
course,
dope. Yeah.
Of course. All right, first question.
Ah.
When someone asks you, what do you do for a living? How do you answer that?
Straightforward, I'm a storyteller.
Ooh,
That's
I wasn't expecting
literally
that.
what I tell people, and people like kind of say, "What does that mean?"
Yeah.
I tell stories of people who live in different countries, and I tell stories of intimate people's life. It's basically a lifestyle, really.
Okay.
So I don't usually call it that. I mean, normally people say you're a photographer, but that's a generic way to kind of tell people what they do.
Sure.
I believe my stories invoke a different emotion, and my photos invoke a couple of different things in the world. So I call myself a storyteller because I also do videos and I also art direct. But if you have a product that you want to sell, right? Someone has to tell the story of your product.
Right.
And that's what I do for a living. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
What did you expect?
I was expecting a photographer.
Nah, man. It's
That's awesome.
It's such a generic thing it cheapens it a little bit because I think I've come to realize that as my career proceeded and grew, is that I've put myself in dangerous lines sometimes for what I do. So it's not just photographer anymore, man. There's
Right.
a lot of story that comes with what we do now. So
I think that's amazing. So how did you get into this?
Oh man. I mean, some of our mutual friends got me into this. Yeah, because
Back in college?
Yeah, back in uni,
Yeah.
man. Nana and like a couple of our friend Isaac, they just would always see me like walk around with a camera in my hand. And they're just like, "What are you doing, dude?"
Yeah.
It's like, "I don't know, I'm just taking photos." And I went to school for aviation.
Really?
And, yeah. So it's a wild story because I started taking photos like this summer before we went to college in 2006, and I wasn't good. I was just still picking things up.
Sure.
And I met all this great group of guys in college, and we all started oh, take photos of us. So I always take photos of everyone, and I started getting known the photo guy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah, which is like really weird. But then I went to the school newspaper, and I kind of handed in some work, and I was like, hey, here's something. I'm not a photo major. I'm not an art major. I'm just looking for a part-time job that you guys have. And the guy was like, how would you like to be the editor of the school newspaper, the photo? And I'm like, wait, what? This are really good, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
That's amazing.
And then I did that for 3 years. And then I was connected through a family friend with Nat Geo my junior year of college. And they paid for my flight to go to China and photograph lifestyle for 3 months in the summer. So we went to Shanghai, Xi'an, Beijing, and it was like, seeing a different world for the first time. Even though my background is already diverse, but going to a different country where you don't know the language or you don't know anyone, but you're still able to communicate with people and have like that little conversation. And that's, I think, upon returning from that trip was when I knew I didn't want to become a pilot. That I wanted to tell people stories.
Was that the last year of college or right after college?
Right, no, that was like basically my junior year of college.
Junior
so
year,
basically I've been in aviation for like 4 years now, and I was just like, this is it was a rush. Like,
was it because you really enjoyed it? Did you have enough self-awareness to feel like, you know what, I'm really good at this, or was it a combination of the two?
Not even that though. It wasn't something that I thought I had a skills for. I remember, okay, sophomore year of college, I signed up for an art class, like a photography class. I came in and already had a portfolio ready to present to my teacher, and he was like, "You don't need this class. You should not do this." And it was just like, keep that highest sharp and keep shooting. Your stuff looks really great. It's not necessarily that, man. It's just like, that took over me, man. It's like a wave. You just knew you were doing the right things. But also I was surrounded by such great humans that always kept telling me, dude, you gotta do this. This is so good. Like, you've got to do this. You've got to do this. And if you surround yourself with great people and good people, I think you're capable of doing anything you want to. And I think we have those friends in common. They still motivate me to do better. I get a big project somewhere, they're like, okay, what's the next thing you're doing? Those are the kind of friends you want. Not the friends like, oh man, but they're like, keep doing good. And that's how I really got into it. I was motivated by a lot of good friends.
Okay, I love that.
It was really big.
I love that.
Friendship was big to me, man, getting into this, because it's all love, man. What we do is really all love. When I say storytelling, is we're either telling stories of love, heartbreak, or just showing people something different they haven't seen, which is really important.
See, that's such an abstract way to look at it. Like someone with an average mind like myself wouldn't think of that. I'm so not artsy or creative. I'm just very rigid and just, I don't feel like I have that level of creativity. So it's hard for me to understand when I ask you, what do you do? And you're like, I storytell. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah. I feel like everyone has a hint of creativity to themselves. I think with me, something just opened up in my head. It wasn't taking an acid trip, or it wasn't doing much, it wasn't all of that. Photos just became, growing up, I remember when we were 3 years old, my parents took us to a Fela Kuti concert. So Fela Kuti is a pioneer of Afrobeat.
Okay.
We were kids. We were in this place called the Shrine in Nigeria, and you remember colorful things in your head, snaps of memory that just flashes back at you. Movement of fabrics, people basically half naked dancing around you, drawn. It was I grew up in a very emotional, colorful state of mind, and I think it didn't really hit me until I became an adult. That I started seeing those colors again in my dreams, and that's what really sparked my creativity. And I've always had a teacher during my middle school years, my 8th grade, when I moved here, Miss Spidell. She was the first person to take an interest in me as a creative, because I was going to school for engineer.
Right.
And she was just think about things this way. And if you can think about things in different ways and in multiple ways, I'm sure you do really good, man. And I still thank her every day for it, man. She's great.
That's great.
Helpful
That's awesome. Yeah. So let's go back to your story. You were in college, junior year. You decided to become a storyteller, and then you went to China. What next? How did you turn it into your career? How were you actually monetizing off of it?
This is the next story. Because I think people always just colorize you're rich, when you reach a certain level of well known, but turning something into a business and actually making money off of it, it's a whole different ball game,
right?
Which is the next level of where you got to learn business management and get to all of that. So I was approached by a cat named, I approached Manifest. Manifest was an amazing hip hop artist from Ghana. He was really dope. It's really cool style. And I remember meeting Manifest, and we had this great conversation. It was he was my real first mentor in the music industry. So I would just take my camera, drive from Mankato, photograph Manifest. This is still after my China work. I'm still learning from him, and I'm still learning from everyone. From meeting Manifest, I met Brother Ali. From meeting Brother Ali, I met Sean Daly, Slug. I met all of those cats, and I started photographing around all of those guys. I don't think I got my real first big project. You know, I think one of the biggest things before we even go into the money thing is also like getting your head right, right? You know, I had to tell my parents after graduation when I've already accepted like an offer from an airline to fly for them. I tell my parents that that's not what I'm going to do anymore. I packed everything I knew that I had, and I moved to Chicago. And this time in Chicago happened to be the worst 1.5 years of my life because I didn't know any art buyer, I didn't know any director, I didn't know those were the channels.
Everything was new.
Everything was new. I just kind of wanted to torture myself somehow. But Manifest had this idea of me, and it put me in a different category of people. And they asked me to come to Ghana for a massive campaign, and we shot some of my greatest work. And I've got to tell you, man, I'm lucky. But it's also nice to recognize that you've worked your ass off. I'm not sure if I can curse.
Come on, you know the name of the show. Of course you can swear.
So I wasn't sure, like, you know, but before you can get to start eating steak, you got to start eating like ramen at some point too.
Yeah.
But I've always invested in the right equipment. I've always invested in understanding light, standing outside for 24 hours in a day, and understanding the way the sun moves, how it reflects on people's faces. After that big, massive campaign in Ghana, I think that launched me into a different atmosphere because now I've worked with every popular celebrities in Ghana, in an African country. So that being put in the media and everything like that was like really good. But it didn't really hit me that I could also do it as a freelance thing because I still have a lot to learn. So I moved back to Minnesota and I was approached by a Carlson School of Management, the business school, to be a creative director for them. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I worked with them for 3 years. I built their brand. So while working for Carlson, I was already talking to every agency in town and working with every agency in town. I was, I'll do this for free. You know, you put in your time. That's how it works. Magic just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen overnight. And we go to.
So did you have that mindset at that time?
Oh yeah.
Just pay your dues, become a master of your craft.
Do that.
It's gonna pay off eventually.
I was working every morning from basically 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. I go to happy hours, I go to industry night, I meet people, I come home, I edit photo till about 3 a.m. It was never an easy thing. No one is gonna tell you it ain't easy. But through all of that, I landed some of my biggest clients, Invisalign, I landed the U of M as an account, I landed Adidas, 3M, all those people, through all of those. And then I think after my 3 years at Carlson, I won 32 under 32 Best Creative in the nation. And then we did a massive project with General Mills, which kind of like went viral. The hamburger apple mix.
Oh yeah, I remember that with the gold on the hand.
Yeah. So it wasn't easy getting here. It was a lot of, a lot of failure and trial. But like I said, always have the right people by your side that always know that you've got that potential, but they just need to push you extra more.
Right, so having that support group that doesn't, not always kissing your ass and letting you rest on your laurels, but actually push you to reach your potential.
Yeah, like a couple days ago, like I'm not even joking, I called our friend Nana up and I was like, yo, I'm more than a check, bigger than anything I've ever held in my life. And he goes, well, what are you gonna do again now? dude, just like appreciate this. He was just like, take that money, put it in a savings somewhere, forget about it, move on to the next thing, because this is it. You have your body, you have your mental, you have everything you have right now. Start doing more work and getting out there.
I love that.
They don't let me rest for a day. There's a moment where we all see each other and we hug and we're like, oh man, I miss you. But like when it comes to work, it was like, have you seen this other person's work? Be good and start thinking differently. And I've had that support from my friends since day one. I think they've driven my success in any way. They've always been like, all right, take that 30-second pack and then run again. But I wanted 32 under 32, which kind of just like, I mean, then after that, it's just like, okay, offers, coming in. And with that, it's still great, but like, you get to a point where you just get burnt out, man. And then you need to like leave for a while. And then you come back again, and then you know, it's the way it goes, man. Yeah.
Roller coaster.
It's stuff. I mean, this thing, sort of like phone. There are people who basically shoot all their iPhones down, and they're doing amazing. People who don't know anything about light.
Yeah.
So you've got to step your game up in a whole different retrospect now.
Right.
Like the world of digital art, you can post something on Instagram now and get like 50,000 likes. You're just like, and you're just like, shit.
Just throw a filter on.
Professional.
Like, put it in portrait mode, and you're good to go.
You're good to go, and that's like the scary part of our world. But you got to start understanding like the reason why people are successful in our field is because they know what they're doing, and there's different ways to capture things that most people don't know. And I didn't go to school for this, so I had to learn, and I had to like fight people. And in this industry, not to say anything about race or anything like that, in the advertising industry, there's no one giving black people like, $70,000 to go do a project. You know, you have to fight for your own, and you've got to bring the talent, and you've got to bring your hate game. And when you're shooting, from day one, from pre-production to post-production to end and everything, you've got to be just king.
Yeah.
And you've got to be good, and you've got to be diligent in what you do. So, yeah, man. So, hard work and having good friends and having a balance and mental health is such a very important thing. So, yeah.
So those are your elements of success.
Those are my elements of success, man. You know, also respect the people that have done it, and respect the people that are coming up, and also give back to the community. You know, those are the big element. You know, a lot of people are looking up to you no matter what. So we hosted literally last Friday, we hosted an event where I curated art for a group of new upcoming community people, photographers in town.
Okay.
And we had 34 pieces, and they sold 32.
Wow.
And that's a major give back to those guys, because they're doing such great stuff. But just always know someone helped you to get here. And if you can reach back and grab people up, that's the only thing you can do to just keep giving back, but also keep going forward. Because you want to be the best at what you do, but you also want to do what you do at a great rate. Yeah. So
I love that, man.
Yeah. Good mentality.
So clearly this is the reason why I had Wale on the show. I mean, here's a guy who is an absolute master at his craft, but he's so humble as well, and he gives credit where it's due, and he's not sitting on this mountaintop of success saying, hey, I walked up this by myself. I had the Sherpas or my friends helping me up the summit. So I think that is really amazing, and I commend you on that level of just humbleness, self-awareness, respect for others. It's really great to hear, because it's very rare to see that,
No, I think we grew up differently. And you can know that by our friends, like Nana and all those guys. We grew up with parents who were very revered. Our parents were very, respect your elders, go to school, do your work, and do your craft. I mean, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my entire life is tell my father that I'm not going to be a pilot. Like I'm going to go.
I was going to dig into that a little bit, because I know how, culturally, the stereotypes of a lot of international parenting can be sometimes, and so I understood what you were saying. I was going to dig into it, but how did that conversation go? And how do they feel about it today?
It's a heartbreak, man. Back then, that felt like one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
You have this career path that is so sound, it's so steady, it's respected. It's aviation. It's a great profession, very steady, stable, respected. And now you're switching into this creative space where there's a lot of unknown. What is considered good? What isn't considered good? How do you become a master at it? How do you make money at it? And so, from your parents' perspective, they're like, "What the hell? Why are you doing that?"
You're an idiot.
I get it.
But also, it's a poor man's job. That's what photography is known for, where we come from. Where now I've graduated, my parents are already telling their friends, "Oh, son is going to be a pilot," and now I just hit them with this side link of "Oh, I'm going to be broke as shit. I have what, you're gonna be carrying photo camera around? Like, you know, that was honestly one of the hardest things I had to tell my parents, is because not that, but they've supported us and they've been there for us and they've told us like, this is what you should do and you should always respect. I come from a place where you have to respect your elders no matter what. But telling my dad that was one of the biggest heartbreak. And I also told him on the same day as I moved to Chicago. And I told him I was not coming home.
Yeah.
And you know, we all didn't talk for a while. We had our distances.
Yeah.
But I remember I was doing a project, and it included Ibo Taylor, which is like a very big pioneer, like artist from Africa. And my dad was like, "Oh, we used to listen to those guys." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm working with them. I'm gonna go meet them." And it was like, "Oh, cool." And then I remember like getting on MTV, and my parents were like, "Okay,
that's great."
But like, how are you taking care of yourself? Like, where's the money coming from? Like, how are you?
Yep.
And I remember landing my first major client, and they're like, "Oh, what?" You know, it's a weird thing to see your parents go through a journey with you, where they see you start from nothing to being able to like buy a home, buy everything that you want to, but also be able to support them in any way they can.
Right.
You know, which also just tells you, man, like, the world has a funny way of working. We didn't grow up with money. We didn't grow up with that mentality. It's like everything that we had to chase for is money. Because at the end of the day, happiness is money. Happiness is like key to things. Because some of the people who are the richest people in the world, they may have the most money, but they're not happy. If your mentality is not right, then you're not right. I mean, take Anthony Bourdain for a reason. So I think after I explained to my parent that I didn't want to become a pilot anymore, I think they just kind of let me do my own thing on my own and see where it's all gonna go. But the support came initially because you stood up for something that you believed in. You stood up for something that you know, one way or another way, if you fail, no matter what, I'm gonna go back to aviation anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So why not do this right now where I have my body and everything? But it's also nice to see your parents like after years and they're just like, we're proud of you. Like, you kind of just stood up to us and told us like, this is the path that you want to take. And every time I go home, it's all like big hugs, like, where are you flying to now? You know, it's good to see them proud, and it's good to see my work hang in their house.
That's great.
You know, it shows you just got to keep growing, and you've got to just have the right heart. And you've got to have the right energy to push through. And just know, like, nothing worth having comes easy. You've got to work for that shit, man. And that shit, sometimes, it's either you laying on the floor crying for hours, or it's either you like mad for losing a project that you really want. And it's also just you just like going out on a Friday night to celebrate a big win with all the guys that was there for you from day one. You know? Those are the big part of my job that I go through normally. So,
I love it, man. Such a great success story. You know, when I as I'm reflecting on everything you just said, you know, the major themes within your story are things like self-belief, taking that leap of faith, perseverance. And those are terms that are used quite a bit, but man, it's very rare you actually see them being executed on. You know, it's very hard for an individual to chase their dreams, and then once they get popped in the mouth and they're laying on the floor and then the check's not coming in, do they have the intestinal fortitude and the belief and the perseverance to continue to go after that goal and that dream? And they have parents or friends or whoever it is kind of whispering, you know, you need to go left. Why did you go right? And I bring this up and I do this summary because, again, it's a remarkable success story. And what's most exciting about it, for me, it's like you're on chapter 2 of a 100-chapter book, you know what I mean? And so it's really exciting to see you grow as an individual, just from from our friendship as well as on a professional level. Again, that upward climb is just
got to.
It's been really fun to see. Like,
it's such an important thing. And I mean, we're just talking about that Indigenous Tribe project I was talking to you about. Like, once you get knocked down, I mean, you just gotta know, like, there's
Give,
just
give
gotta
some
be
more
something.
give some more color on that story, because I think there's some valuable lessons in that as we're talking about perseverance and stuff. Share whatever details you can about that particular project.
Yeah, so like, I was invited like to work on a project in Kenya for the health administration, like the top health people, and we shot a couple videos. But I remember the commission on that project was like a very good, sizable commission, and I realized like, well, I'm just gonna spend this money here and just whatever. So I did something I've always wanted to do, is to go live with tribes, indigenous tribes, where people don't really, there's like hardly any electricity, there's nothing.
And this was for dark. 3 months.
3 months, just out there.
And like, like logistically, how do you even go about getting to where you need to go?
You take it a day at a time.
And were they expecting you?
No.
And obviously, I'm just completely assuming because of my ignorance, but did they speak English?
No.
And so, like, how do you survive in that environment for 3 months? How did they embrace you? How did they welcome you? How was there not any turmoil?
It was tough, man.
And did they know what a camera was?
Oh, they do, because some people have came through before, but like it's like a respect thing. But the thing about it was, we found someone to drive us out there around, someone who knew the languages of these tribes that we're going to be connecting with. And when you go in, you have to go talk to the chief and everyone, and they have this conversation. But also, it's good because, like, I've been to so much places. I've always kept Africa out of my mind a bit, and this was one of the reasons why I had to do this, because I was also going through a lot during that time in my professional life and in my life. I was having my identity issue, and I had to figure out what I really wanted. And after a heartbreak, if you know any artists, heartbreaks help you create way more than anything. And I remember like being down there, and we got to the first tribe. It was the Lake Turkana tribe in Kenya. It was basically about 20 hours drive from Nairobi, which is vicious, and the roads are not proper. Like, it's a real journey. I remember like I was driving into this tribe, and there's a beautiful like just overlook to the sea.
Okay, that's cool.
And I was like, man, that reminds me of Scotland. And the driver knew what I was talking about, and he goes, no, you're in Africa, man. These just places people don't see very often because the ignorance of the world, because, they show Africa like, just dying babies and stuff like that.
Yep.
This is the part of Africa people don't get to witness and see. And I remember I had them to stop the car, and we just got out. And I remember sitting on a rock and just crying.
Wow. And
realizing like, what the fuck? Why is this being eaten? And then we went in, and it's just people living in huts that was built from like cow skin. Like it's a different world.
Yeah.
It's 115 degrees hot. People have to walk for miles to go get clean water. It's watching like seeing tribes from back in the day. Yeah. They're just like 50 to 60 years behind in time. Right. Yeah. That's what you would think. Yeah. But this is their daily life. This is where they lived. And they're so kind. People share food. People were really, really nice. As a stranger, like you have a different smell to you, and they could smell you pretty easily. Yeah. And I learned a lot about myself. Oh, sure. It was also some of the first ground of where slavery began, where people were being taken away from their homes. So it was like a real moment of absolution. This is the moment where you have to forgive yourself. This is the moment where you have to let whatever pain that is kind of binding you down. That's a great way to look at it, yeah. This is it. So that entire journey I took to kind of like understand the way these people still live this way. And some of the simpler things I kind of got from it is like, once you have less, you know how simple life is. You know, it's not about money, it's not about all of that. They have no cell phone, they have not even mostly hot water, like they don't have much, but you still see the kids so happy and everyone goes by on a daily basis and do their job the proper way. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before. And you know, being a guy that is used to like running 50 miles per hour, trying to slow down in a place where it's timeless.
Right.
You know, you get the bell, the rings, like this is like when the sun is going down, like, you know, you get all of that and you're just like, your cell phone don't work, you're in an absolute unknown. You have to be forced to get to know yourself a lot more, and you have to be forced to face your demons and your fears. And that's why this project was such a big thing for me, because we left Nigeria when I was 4 and kind of reconnecting back to that world. And then we went to like Uganda, and it was just like, it was unreal, man. And I came back, and it was like self-funded, and I came back, and you know, I realized the world around me, what I didn't want around me, what I wanted around me, what kind of friendship I need. You know, you navigate your life through that, and hopefully it pays out, and it's still paying out because I still remember those core values. You know, I'm going to take a trip back in a year to go see how things have kind of elevated again. But part of being a storyteller is putting yourself in those areas. I mean, I came back home and I've lost about like 15 pounds.
Wow.
I've like, it's just you've morphed into something else and someone else, and you hope you've left just a bit of yourself for that community to remind you by and
what a way to look at it,
Yeah, man, that's why we're storytellers. You know, that's why we do what we do. It's not, I mean, yes, it's not for the glory and fame, but it's also understanding that you're learning, you're taking something from someone and making sure you're giving them something back in return for that exchange. Because, I mean, imagine it's going to replace and just taking advantage of all of that and then not doing something back.
Right.
That's kind of a fucked up thing to do.
Right.
So, those are my important core values of traveling and working. And I'm heading out to India in 3 weeks to go live with people out there.
Oh, you'll be out there in India?
Yeah, I'm going to be in India for 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then I'm going to Amsterdam, and then I'm heading to Ethiopia for a week.
Wow. Can't imagine what your passport looks like.
My passport is, I actually have to go renew my passport because I've ran out of space.
Oh, wow.
And then I have to go renew again because it expires like in like 6-7 months. But that's like the journey, because people like to think like it's luxury, like, wow, you have so much money that you're traveling this far.
Yep.
It's not that. It's also understanding that I'm doing my own, you know, like, you know, you're working a corporate job and they give you like those, is it like every year you get like an every year review of what like yourself,
usually, typically it depends on which role you're in, but there's either quarterly business reviews or annual. Yep.
So basically, it's that me. I'm doing that
self-reflection
of my life.
Yeah.
That this is where you are now, and you're not taking this advantage. I'm not going there living in resorts. I'm going there, being with the locals, and understanding what the locals go through on a daily basis. Yeah. That's how you get to evolve as a human.
Yeah, I love it, and I look at it as a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah,
you know?
True.
And what's unique about that is, even if you go to the same place, every time you go there is going to be a different you, most likely, because like you said, you're always constantly evolving and progressing and turning and morphing into someone else.
Yeah. Something someone told me a long time ago that still actually always sticks by me is we grow, we all grow. It's either you evolve or you disappear. You know, if you're not evolving, if you're not getting to know anything. So for instance, let's say you go to Power once. You know, you say that to someone.
Yep.
They say hi to you, it's a fresh face.
Yep.
You know, you go there twice, again, in a week. Okay, hi. You go there 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. You start disappearing because now you're a regular person. So it's like you're not there anymore, but you're there.
Right.
You know, if you don't evolve and open your palette and go around the area, spread yourself around.
Yep.
You know, if you spread yourself to one thing, you know, you disappear. You know, because there's going to be a lot more people doing that.
Right.
So that's how I can look at things. Evolve and keep evolving, or else you're just gonna get lost
Right.
in the circle of it all.
That's
So,
great, man.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up here, let me ask you one last thing, which is, we've touched on it a little bit, but for those aspiring storytellers,
Yeah.
what do you think are the keys to success, or the fundamental, elements of success that you would recommend to someone? I know everyone has their own journey,
Yeah.
but is it mastering the camera? Is it understanding light and angles? Is it understanding how to tell a story? What is the purpose of what you're trying to capture? Like, what are some elements that you would recommend to someone who's really trying to make a career and living off of being a creative?
I would say build a style first. I think one thing that I knew I wanted to do is learn lighting, because once you know lighting, the rest comes really natural and easy for you. But build a style, go to as much events as you can, give your name out to people, talk to people. And it's a weird field, because like, if you're a very awkward person, it's gonna suck, because you need to meet people, you need to talk to clients, you need to be out there.
You be likable, yeah.
Yeah, but know your style and go for it.
Okay.
Once you figure out what your style is, it becomes easy. I don't want to shoot weddings. Yes, that's one thing marked out. I don't want to shoot baby portrait. That's marked out. Like, know your style and know what you want to do. That would help you out, because then you can just go dive and just like, yep, this is what I want to do.
Yep.
This is what I like, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be great at
Go
it.
deep in an area.
Go deep in
don't
an
go
area.
narrow
Yeah.
across all the spectrum.
Because what everyone do is like, just goes crazy.
Yeah.
My style is more easier. It's emotion, storytelling, and color. Literally, you'll find that in any of my photo. That's just it. And my lighting is absolute. And I understand my lighting because it's something I've worked on for 5 years before it became a thing. Respect the business, respect the client, respect the people you work with, and they'll give you that back in a million years. And also build relationships with people. That's like, I can't tell you how important to build a relationship with. I recently started working with Target on their campaign earlier last year. If I didn't have respect for all the people I was working with, they would have bring me back 10 times.
Yeah.
If you're not showing them the same love they're showing you, you just have to be present with all the people you're working with and let them know like you care for them, and for that time being, they're yours and you're theirs. But also go the extra mile to say, hey, I would like to throw a wrap party or something for you guys. Like, thank you very much. Like, these are things that you should know. Because building those relationships are what's going to land you your next project. Because there can have the, oh my God, we worked with this Wale kid. We thought he was great. He would be great for that brand. You should talk to him.
Right.
That's how it works. Because word of mouth is a very big thing. That's how my business is ran. It's through word of mouth. Sometimes through ads, but like not really. It's really the people you sit down with, the people you talk to, and the people that understand you, people who know where you want to go and where you want to be. So if you're constantly talking to people, constantly shooting, because you have to constantly keep shooting. That's how you keep growing your own style. But also constantly going to meetings and talking to people and kind of understanding the culture. Keep learning. Also learn the business part too.
Okay.
Because that's how you're gonna survive. You've got to keep this whole thing moving.
Yep.
Because you're just gonna crash and burn. So I say like, learn a business management class.
Okay.
Because that was my thing that I definitely did. Working at Carlson, I took some business management classes, and I was just like, oh my God, this is how I market myself. It's that easy, man. What else?
Style, network,
and
treat your customers with respect.
Great respect.
Word of mouth is everything.
It's everything, because it's a small community of creatives. If you mess with someone will mess with you back. And so just understand that, like, you need to keep that good and keep your image well and shoot good shit. Do good work. It's a very big thing, and our community is small. The 1%ers that are doing all the work, they've worked their ass for 20, 30, 40 years to be able to collect the check that they're collecting. And if you put that same time and effort in, you know, not all of us came from money. I mean, some people are lucky enough to have come from money and was able to buy all the best equipment. But some of us had to hustle our asses, you know, work the 2 job to get that camera that you wanted. You work the 2 job to get the lights that you wanted. It's all part of that story and part of that upbringing that, you know, you've struggled and you deserve to be here. So when you're there, you know you're in the right place and you've worked your ass off and you don't feel the lack of confidence. You're confident because you've brought yourself this far. So those are the important values, man.
I love that. That's great. All right, before we close, I'm gonna flip the script. You're gonna ask me a question. I don't care what it's about.
My
anything,
God.
everything.
Man.
I have no idea what's gonna come out of your mouth.
What happened to the air?
Oh my God.
What happened to the air?
So we'll give a little context to the viewers. So he's asking me about the hairstyle I used to have, which was about, you know, 8 inches of long curly hair. Back in my soccer days, I would rock that, thinking I was Ronaldinho. Yeah, man, I cut that off 2nd year of college.
I remember.
I just felt like it was time. And I get asked about that quite a bit. And
to just retire it?
Yeah, and I tell people, the people that want me to bring it back, I tell them, all right, I won't say no, but when I bring it back, it's gonna be long, gray, curly hair. I'll be like 60, 70 years
just
old.
Like beautiful long gray hair.
Yeah, you might find me on the beach surfing, just a hippie with some long curly hair. I don't know.
I have one more question for you, though.
Yeah.
I've always known you to be very diligent and very motivated. I feel like you work out more than most people when you take that time to kind of go into your own mode. And you also seem like a very private guy time to time because, I mean, you might seem friendly around friends, but you seem like you're very well reserved in many ways.
Yeah.
So in my way, what motivates you to do what you do naturally?
Yeah, so at a macro level, what motivates me is trying to reach my full potential. Yeah. And like you said earlier, it's about continuous progress and improvement. And so when I wake up in the morning is what I do is I ask myself, how can I improve the quality of other people's lives as well as progress towards my ultimate, you know, potential. Yeah. And when I look at that, I look at the various different buckets of my life. Yeah. Relationships, health and fitness, business, so on and so forth. And then when I look at those major buckets to say, how can I move the needle in this one? How can I move the needle in this one, and this one, and this one? And every single morning I write out exactly what I need to do, my top priorities to actually move the needle in each one of those buckets. So again, I'm continuously moving the needle. And so that's how I operate, and that's what drives me, is just reaching my full potential. And you know, I firmly believe that the worst thing that can happen to someone is reaching the end of their life, looking back and having a tremendous amount of regret. And I think it's usually regret of the things we don't do, not the things we actually do. And so I want to try everything that feels right to myself. The podcast. I want to do the podcast. I want to be able to leave legacy. When I die someday, my kids can watch this and see how you and I interacted and stuff like that. And so being able to understand what's most important in my life and then moving the needle consistently in those is what motivates me.
Amazing, man. You see, you've got your own thing. You've got your own storyline. That's amazing. Yeah, it's a good thing.
I appreciate it.
No, you've always been really great, and you've always been a really great friend.
I appreciate that.
I've always also remembered, like, you were supportive of my photos too, and we grew up in that friend group that were just all good kids from diverse background, and we all just always want the best for each other. So with me, I always want the best for you, so keep going and keep doing this, and I'm really excited that you're doing this too.
I appreciate that.
So man, keep pushing.
Appreciate it. Before we wrap up here, tell everyone where they can follow you, whether you have a professional website or it's social.
My website is Dean Studio, DEN studio.com, and you can find me on Instagram at wa.dean, DEN. Easy, colorful, bright profiles. Yeah, man. And where else? If you're in India, if you're in Ethiopia, if you're in anywhere, just let me know. Find me. I'll be more than happy to sit down and grab tea or anything with you. Just
I
let me
love
know.
it, man.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
Gotta
There
do
you
it,
have
man.
it, folks. That's Wale, my man. Thank you again for tuning into another episode of the Not So Fucking Ordinary Show, and we will catch you next time. We're out.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate you.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
Good job.
thank you. No.